I stood on stage, sharing this concept of industrial hemp, and one of the judges for the contest said, "So let me get this straight. You're looking to build houses out of a Schedule One substance." And I said, "Well, yes, today it's a Schedule One substance, but in 5 or so years, it's going to be federally legal, and I want to be on the forefront of what I believe to be an emerging industry."
Well, that was Mattie Mead from Hempitecture, and you're listening to the Lancaster Farming Podcast with Eric Herlock, and I'm Morris Beagle.
Morris Beagle? Wow, how did you get in here?
I have no idea.
Well, I'm glad you're here. I want to talk to you about the NOCO Hemp Expo. So thanks for your help with the introduction. Can you do me another favor?
Sure, what do you want me to do?
Well, for now, just sit tight. We've got a big show coming up today, talking to Mattie Mead from Hempitecture, talking about new products, possible East Coast manufacturing facility, and new opportunities for investors. And then I've got a handful of news nuggets too, including a story about kitty litter made from hemp. So all that, plus I want to talk to you about the NOCO Hemp Expo coming up in April. But first, a word from our sponsors.
Sure, I get it.
This episode is brought to you in part by Impactful Ventures, an investment and incubation company focused on supporting startups and other initiatives that play a vital role in mitigating the adverse effects of climate change. At Impactful Ventures, they strive to amplify enterprises that bring innovative, green opportunities to the forefront and empower those making a significant impact for a sustainable future. You can learn more at impactfulventures.org. This episode is brought to you in part by I&D Hemp in Fort Benton, Montana, where they believe in the goodness of hemp. I&D Hemp is a family-owned, mission-driven, and environmentally focused industrial hemp food, feed, and fiber company, providing new opportunities for farmers and rural communities. Their mission is to provide innovative agricultural products and services to connect American farmers with the pioneers and businesses that see hemp as a way to bring real and lasting change to our communities and planet. Learn more at indhemp.com.
The KP4 Hemp Cutter, introducing a revolution in hemp harvesting, setting a new standard for harvesting quality, speed, and efficiency. The KP4 prepares hemp for ideal retting and easy on-field tedding, raking, and baling. Easy to maintain and designed to withstand the punishments of hemp harvesting. The KP4 Hemp Cutter. Available only at hempcutter.com.
Okay, welcome back. So here we are. It is the last week of March 2024, and I've got a handful of news nuggets for you. Good news nuggets, I think. This one comes to us from Hemp Building Magazine. The headline says, Hemp Lime Appendix published in 2024 U.S. Residential Housing Codes. The governing body for national building codes in the U.S. released a residential building code recently that included hemp lime, hempcrete for the first time. The International Code Council, that's the ICC, their update of the International Residential Code for 2024 included Appendix BL Hemp Lime, Hempcrete Construction. The successful submission of hemp lime into the U.S. residential building codes was a multi-year project of the U.S. Hemp Building Foundation. And the story goes on to list the people who were involved. And Jacob Waddell was sort of spearheading all of this effort. So we're going to be talking to Jacob. He is the founder of the Hemp Building Institute. So we'll be talking to Jacob hopefully in the next couple of weeks. All right, so good news on the hemp building front. Now we turn to, this thing about the state attorneys general. I read this on Politico. The states are urging Congress to address the risks posed by intoxicating hemp products. And I've asked the robot to summarize it for me. And the robot puts it like this. State attorneys general are urging Congress to address the risks posed by intoxicating hemp products. They highlight concerns over unregulated, high-potency hemp products flooding the market, often appealing to youth. This bipartisan effort, led by 20 state attorneys general, emphasizes the need for federal action to regulate these products, citing inconsistent court rulings and the potential public health crisis they pose. They call on Congress to revise the definition of hemp under federal law and clarify state authority to regulate cannabis. So yeah, this whole Delta 8 situation is just wacky, and I'm keeping an eye on it, but honestly, I'm more interested in hemp building and hemp as a food and, the industrial applications of the plant. But you know that, right? Here's one. I'm not going to read you the story. I'm just going to read you the headline because this kind of underscores the situation. Here's a story on the Sacramento Bee. It says, California hemp products can get you as high as cannabis. How did this happen? I don't even know what to say there. But anyway, moving on. Here is another story. This one is about making things from hemp. It's about manufacturing skis from hemp tapes. It says that natural fibers are gaining traction in the lightweight construction industry, offering sustainability and efficiency. Germany's Fuse is leading a project to develop high-performance technical applications for bio-based fibers, including a hemp-based alpine ski. Partnering with Karl Mayer Technische Textilien, they're producing non-crimp fabrics for the ski using hemp tapes. This innovative project aims to industrialize ski production with renewable materials and reduce environmental impact. With support from companies and research institutions, the project is paving the way for bio-based composites in various industries. Again, that was a summary written by the ChatGPT robots. All right, so I've got one more, and then we're going to check in with Morris and talk about NOCO. Morris, are you still there?
I think I am.
All right, hang in there. Thanks for your patience. Your call is important to us. All right, and this last story, full disclosure, this is a story about IND Hemp's pet care brand, All Walks. There's a story in the news, but I'm just going right to the source, and we're going to talk to Greg Necco from IND Hemp. Greg Necco, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great, Eric. Great to catch up with you a little bit.
Yeah. On last week's show, during the sponsor message, because IND Hemp is one of our most beloved sponsors, I mentioned that you guys have some new products coming out that we can talk about. And these are products through your brand, All Walks. So can you tell me what's going on, Greg?
Yeah. So actually still down in Florida, All Walks is our brand of pet products and designed to be, we call it hemp goods for a better path. And essentially to bring all of the different things that we can make with hemp into the pet and equine markets. So we launched with our small animal bedding, hemp herd bedding, in 2022. And then we started doing the chicken nesting mat last year. And then we just launched a kitty litter project this year at the Global Pet Expo last week. And we also won Best in Show for new product, our first place win for our
That's awesome.
All Walks Cube Combo, which is a 70-liter cube of the hemp herd bedding and a 6-pack of the hemp fiber nesting mats. So everything you need for your happy hens.
There you go. All right. Well, congratulations on that first place win. How was the kitty litter received down there?
Well, kitty litter, as you know, because you're somebody that has cats, there's a lot of kitty litter in the market. And if you're going to bring a new product to market, you have to perform. And I will say our hemp kitty litter, we call it hemp litter, but it's actually made with milled hemp herd and upcycled cereal grains. So it's all natural, 100% farmed, not mined, and it clumps better than the clay product.
Nice.
So your standard kitty litter product is a clay product, which is mined from the earth, and that's a good clumping product. And so we're doing farmed, not mined, with our all natural kitty litter product.
Excellent. And then how does that compare on price?
Well, like everything in hemp, Eric, we're a better product. We're obviously more expensive. But if you care about your animals and you care about doing right by the planet, sometimes you got to ante up a little bit. That said, you have to lead with performance. And because it clumps so well, and because hemp herd is so absorbent, it actually will lock in the odor more than other litters. So you get performance benefits. And with that, because it clumps so well and you can easily remove the clumps, you're not replacing the whole litter box as often as you would with a clay litter. We get about little less than twice as long a use out of it.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yep. Yep. And I actually sent you a couple bags yesterday, Eric, so that down the road you can validate with your own use. I know you've got a cat or two.
Yeah, we do have 2 cats. Cool. Well, thank you for sending that. I will shoot some video of getting them and trying it out, and maybe a podcast interview with my cat.
Yeah, or with your kids and your cats. Down at your house, Eric, do you clean the litter box or do the girls clean the litter box?
Oh, it's always a point of contention. They've promised me that they're going to clean it, but yeah, it's always me. Always me. So I am looking forward to this product.
Yeah, so either it's going to make it better for you or maybe it makes it more exciting and then they want to start cleaning the litter box.
Greg, this is awesome. This is great news. I will put links to the new products and to the All Walks page on the show page for this episode. And as always, I appreciate your support and IND Hemp support, and just really thankful that we're all in this together.
Yes, and thank you for continuing to do the good work you do at the podcast, Eric. We really enjoy listening and love the additional content, and we're proud to be a supporter and keep sharing the good word.
All right, so I will have links to all of those stories, all of those news nuggets, including those kitty litter nuggets. That doesn't sound right. They'll be on the show page for this episode at lancasterfarming.com. All right, finally, Mr. Beagle, how are you doing?
Good, Mr. Herlock. How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine, thanks. I appreciate you being here today. Thank you for your patience. I want to talk about NOCO. It's coming up in a few weeks. It's April 11th through the 13th. So since you're the founder of the whole thing, I thought you could tell us what's going on this year.
Sure. So on the 11th, that is the opening day conference. It's a policy and regulation conference. It's also exhibitor setup. The exhibition trade show goes on the 12th and 13th. It does not go on the 11th. So I want to clarify that. We do have conferences on the 11th, 12th, and 13th. And like I said, on the 11th, it's the policy regulation conference. The 12th is food, feed, flour, and cannabinoids. So it's kind of divided up between the grain side of things and the cannabinoid side of things. And then on the 13th, we've got really fiber, herd, industrial materials, and environment, really focusing on the industrial applications, the materials and environment, climate, carbon credits, and all of that. We've also got an Innovate Earth Symposium stage that is part of the expo hall. So we've typically had like a general education stage, and now that's been converted over to what we're calling the Innovate Earth Symposium, which is still talks about hemp, but it's a little bit broader focus. We've got a mushroom guy coming in. We've got some regenerative ag folks coming in. We've got a lot of indigenous folks that are showing up this year, a lot of different tribes. We're really excited about the expansion of the tribal opportunities. You know, we've got the Lower Sioux community coming in, Danny. Those guys have been doing amazing work. And I think that we can expect to see a lot more amazing work from the tribes. I know that you've talked about some of this on your show before. And so we've got great programming, an amazing lineup of speakers, over 100 speakers. We do have Governor Jared Polis showing up. He just confirmed. That was last week, so it's great to have him back. He's been involved in 9 of our 10 events. Certainly a supporter of hemp, cannabis overall. And while we've had struggles here in Colorado between the different industries, you know, it's a balancing act when it comes to the politicians. But Polis is truly a supporter of the hemp industry. And while we might not totally agree on certain things when it comes to cannabinoids and limits and stuff, again, politicians have to be politicians, but he is a great supporter of the overall cannabis industry and the hemp industry. And, you know, maybe someday he'll be our president.
Whoa. You heard it here first. Ladies and gentlemen, Morris Beagle predicting the future. Governor Polis maybe someday will be the president.
Maybe. After RFK.
Oh boy, here we go. Let's talk about like the logistics of the event itself. Like what kind of team do you assemble for this? Like how many people do you have on the ground kind of like running the operations?
Well, less this year than we have in the past. So I think maybe we talked about this before. My ex-partners, Elizabeth Knight and Lori Bederis, who were there from the beginning and helped founded this and build this, and hats off to them. They basically exited at the end of 2000, well, after the 2022 event, and then Lori stayed on a little bit longer. So I took over everything. They felt it wasn't as fun anymore. Things were tough. They wanted to pursue other things, and I get that. A lot of people have exited the industry. But I've still got a solid team with Steve Hoffman, uh, Debbie West, who does all the back end stuff, Ben Wright, my designer, Victoria Miller, uh, Dylan, who handles all of my volunteer side of things. So I've got a solid team. We're a little bit leaner this year, but we've got a solid team. And this year we're in two different locations. So we're at the fairgrounds where the events complex is, it's the Estes Park Events Complex. So that's where the trade show is. And then about a quarter of a mile away is the conference center that's now located within the Holiday Inn. And we're going to have a shuttle that goes back and forth. It's an easy walk. It's 5 minutes. But depending on weather, if we've got like a little bit of snow on the ground, it's a beautiful little community up there. It's an easy walk. But we will have a shuttle service, and so it is in two different locations.
Okay, cool.
You do need to be aware of that it's not all under the same roof.
Right. Okay, that's good to know. I've never been to Estes Park. Can you tell me a little bit about the town itself?
It's about 6,000 population. It's right below the foot of Rocky Mountain National Park, which is an amazing national park. Lots of cool little restaurants and bars and breweries. Super pretty. It's just in this little valley. And I think it's going to be a great place for the community to come together and do a lot of networking and work out a lot of our internal issues that we have as an industry between the cannabinoid side, the fiber and the grain side. We've been kind of battling and fighting and struggling, and then the greater cannabis community as well. And I think that there's an opportunity here for us to really get together and hang out and talk face to face, maybe have a hemp beer. We've got a special 10th anniversary hemp beer that we're doing with Lumpy Ridge Brewery and Earthy Now. Earthy Now is a company out of North Carolina. And so we're doing a super cool hemp beer. We'll have hemp beer, cans of beer and kegs of beer, and that'll be all over town. But it's just going to be a great opportunity in this more just epic setting to do these type of conversations rather than going to, let's say, Las Vegas for MJ Biz. This is not Vegas, baby. This is Estes.
Cool. I can't wait to check it out.
So another thing that we've got is we do a welcome party, a kickoff party every year, and then we do a WAFBO Awards of Excellence. So that's on the Thursday night, the 11th. It's going to be there at the conference center where the conference is taking place, and that's from 7 to 10. We'll have live music. My brother Dave's going to be playing like he did last year.
Yeah.
And then Justin Boot and the goddamn Ranch Hand Band, they're going to be playing. And they were there last year too, Justin and a buddy of his. And then Justin's also going to play the after party with Ryan Chris and the Rough Cut. So that's Saturday night. So we've got an after party as well. Friday night, there will be a variety of networking things going on with different folks who are putting things together right now.
Cool. Tickets are still on sale.
Tickets are on sale. Ticket prices go up April 4th. So, save a little money, get them now. Conference is definitely going to sell out or be very close to selling out. So we're happy about the attendance on the conference side. There's definitely space at the expo for lots of people to show up. And the Saturday at the expo is open to the general public. So this is really the first year that we're going to really be trying to get a lot of the general public back in. Okay. Pre-pandemic, it was a hybrid show where it was B2B and B2C. So Friday is really the B2B day. Saturday, you can still do B2B, but it's open to the general public. And we're inviting everybody out from Estes and along the Front Range. Come check out what's going on in the hemp industry. See all the cool products that we're going to have, which will have everything from, building materials and bioplastics and apparel to CBD and no intoxicating products on the floor. So that's another thing.
There you go. No red state weed out there.
No, we can't do that here in Colorado. There are companies that are in that space that can do business, and we still manufacture here. That's one of the sunset things that they did. There's a lot of jobs in that, and to me, I'm agnostic. hemp does all these things, all these derivatives, and if they're synthesized, if you look at corn, you look at soy, you look at potatoes, we've got synthesized compounds for those that have built huge billion-dollar industries. And I know there's a lot of people that are against this stuff. And again, I don't really consume it. I'm agnostic towards it, but it's just another product that's being created from this plant that can do so many things. So, I'm not going to argue with if there's a market demand for it, the market drives it. I'm a market guy,
Right.
and hopefully products are safe. People don't end up in the hospital. And I know that that's a concern and with children and stuff like that. And I think that regulation has to be there. And just to pivot a little bit, we do have a fireside chat with the FDA. First time we've had that. So we've got the FDA coming into the pit.
Yeah.
And,
All right.
I've guaranteed their safety. I've been harsh on the FDA myself for years, but I'm very thankful that they're engaging with the industry. We've also got Canra, and I mean, we have folks coming to the event that have had a lot of tension between themselves, and so I think that we've got a great opportunity to work through a lot of this stuff and get to understand all the different sides, and hopefully put a lot of this stuff behind us and build the industry that we know we can build. There's just tremendous opportunity, and it's we just got to work through a lot of our family issues here.
Amen to that. All right, Morris, thank you so much for your time today. I look forward to seeing you out in Estes Park in just a few weeks. Thanks.
All right, we'll see you. Bye.
All right, so if any of you are going out to NOCO next month and you want to connect with me, drop me a line. You can send me a message in LinkedIn or an email to podcast@lancasterfarming.com, or, a message on Instagram. If you want to find me, you can find me. I will be there at NOCO. I will be moderating a panel, possibly emceeing a session or two, so I'll be around. So I hope to see you there. I love NOCO because you just get to see what's happening. So, all right. So without further ado, and yeah, there's been a lot of ado on this show already, we are now going to talk to Mattie Mead from Hempitecture. Always a pleasure to talk to Mattie. Here we go. Mattie Mead from Hempitecture. Welcome back to the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast. How have you been?
Eric, thanks for having me. Great to see you again. I'm doing wonderful, and I'm really glad to be back here with you today to share a little bit more about what we're up to. It's been a little while.
Yeah, I think the last time we saw each other was out at the Montana Summer Hemp Summit, and I think you gave a presentation there. You talked a lot about stuff, but I thought we would just sort of get an update today and see where you're
at.
Absolutely. So yeah, anyway, thanks for being here. So why don't you first just give me like the high level sort of introduction to yourself and tell us a little bit about the company.
Yeah, well, again, thanks for having me. Love what you do. Love the spotlight that you shine, not just on the industrial hemp industry, but agriculture as a whole. So always welcome the opportunity to be back on your podcast. My name is Mattie Mead. I'm the founder and CEO of Hempitecture. We are a building materials manufacturing company focused on what we believe are the most truly sustainable building materials on the planet. And as you could probably guess by our name, our not so secret ingredient is hemp fiber. So we, on a daily basis, convert hemp fiber into a variety of building materials. Most people who are familiar with Hempitecture might think of hemp wool as our primary offering, which of course it is. We built our factory out to produce hemp wool thermal batt insulation, but there's a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes, and I'm going to share today a little bit more of all the things we're working on, and maybe some of the things that you might not see or get a sense of when you come to our website. But yeah, Eric, since we last saw each other at the Montana Hemp Summit hosted by IND Hemp, so much has gone on. It's been a big year of growth. It's been a big year of fighting battles to get a manufacturing plant stood up. But I'm really excited to say that today our facility is running really well. We have a number of team members down there that are really working every day to improve what we're doing at Hempitecture. And when I say improve what we're doing at Hempitecture, I mean make better product, improve our operational efficiency, innovate new products by trying new things out. And when you try new things out, you're not going to succeed every time, or you're definitely not going to succeed right off the bat on the first go. And so it's been a lot of trial and error to get to where we are today. But it's been a journey. And I feel like we're finally kind of getting some tailwinds on that journey. With the start of Hempitecture dating back to really 2013 when I stood on stage at a pitch competition sharing the idea of hemp-based building materials, which really formed the foundational sort of concept for Hempitecture. There was a lot of headwinds. Industrial hemp was still a Schedule One substance, and now today it's legal across the United States. Of course, there's sort of a patchwork of different legislation and regulations depending on which state you're in. But I think we're really on the cusp now of a transition to a bioeconomy, and I think industrial hemp is poised to play a really big role in that transition to the bioeconomy.
Yeah, absolutely. A few weeks ago, it was USDA's Bio-Based Products Day, right? March 8th, which is cool that they're doing that. And so I wonder, are you seeing like a shift in consumer behavior, because of maybe what the USDA is doing? Or, I don't know, talk a little bit about bio-based products and I don't know, that space as a whole, if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. The USDA Bio-Based Products Initiative, or the program itself, is referred to as Bio Preferred, which is a government procurement program where not only can a manufacturer like Hempitecture get a USDA bio-based certified product logo after some steps of paperwork, some steps of testing for biogenic carbon content, but it also puts you in a registry of basically vendors that are producing bio-based products, and the government now has a mandate to look to bio-based products first. So therein lies the name Bio Preferred. And it's been interesting to see the growth of this program. I actually first learned about the USDA bio-based program, or the Bio Preferred program, while I was doing some dishes at home, and we had a soap right next to our sink, and it said USDA bio-based content, and it certified the bio-based content of the soap. And I said, that's a really interesting label. And I wonder if that's something that we could apply for at Hempitecture. So I did a little bit more digging on the Bio Preferred program, and it turns out that it was a really great fit. And so the first product that we set out to get certified with this program was our hemp wool product. So just to kind of give you an overview of that process, there's an application, register on their website, and then you send out your material for biogenic carbon content testing. And so they actually test the content of the material, and they give you a report that says your material is made up of X bio-based material. And so we were able to do that with our hemp wool product, and now we're proudly displaying that logo on our packaging, on our website. But there's a lot of inertia in the bio preferred world, the bio-based products world. And when the USDA just celebrated their bio-based content day, they shared a lot of statistics that showed incredible growth in the program. And I think this is important not just for companies like Hempitecture to be able to showcase and differentiate their products from products that are already on the market that don't have this bio-based content, but I think it's important for farmers because it's really touting this field to product concept. Without being able to differentiate yourself from a bio-based content perspective, how do you really highlight that you're using plant-based ingredients? And so now this is a vehicle for consumers to become more aware of the very critical role that agriculture has, not just in our food system, but also in our built world, in our world of consumer products.
Right.
And I think we're going to see a trend of more and more people moving towards bio-based and looking to put that label on their products.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. I mean, like someone like you're building a company to do just that, to take agriculture material and make products for consumers, right? And
Absolutely.
that's what we have to do, like, all around, right? I'm an optimist, right? And I think we're moving towards that whole shift in the economy, in manufacturing. Like, it's coming, it's slow. It's like when you look at agriculture, like, yeah, consumers, they look at food and they're like, oh yeah, that's farm stuff, right?
Sure.
But it's like we have to broaden that scope, and you look at houses and say, no, that's farm. Like, it's all, everything can be ag based. And it's like the farmers, agriculture plays an important role already, but it's just the potential is huge. So thank you.
I don't think I even realized the breadth of how ubiquitous bio-based materials could be. I mentioned that anecdote of seeing it in my soap, but there's so many products that bio-based materials are incorporated into, and I think what we're seeing is sort of a slow, and to your point, slow and gradual transition to really highlighting bio-based content, but also the replacement of polymeric materials with bio-based materials. Nature has so many solutions for us, and we can learn a lot from nature. I think for far too long we have not listened to nature, and perhaps it's why we're in some of the predicaments that we're in today.
And we
where
thought we could dominate nature, right? And nature said,
totally,
no, that's not how this works, buddy. Right?
Nature is pushing back.
Yeah. So in general, the USDA program, it's good. It's a good thing.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned, pushing into new products. I saw that you have a new product called Fiber Pad. It's like for carpet, like under carpet. Can you talk a little bit about that new product?
Absolutely. So there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes. And one of the things that was happening behind the scenes that we just unveiled from behind the curtain is our newest product, as you mentioned, Fiber Pad, a natural fiber carpet underlayment. Fiber Pad's primary use is as a carpet underlayment material. And so just to kind of back up and give a little bit of context on this space and why we decided to manufacture Fiber Pad. Conventional carpet underlayment, carpet's so ubiquitous. Wood materials, and hardwood floors are great, but carpet is in so many homes, and we often don't really think about what's made up within the layers of our assemblies or our floors. And I was really surprised to learn that conventional carpet underlayment is really made up of a lot of synthetic materials, and generally they're pretty low grade polymers. And these low grade polymers, they break down over time. And so when you're walking on your floors, when you're walking on your carpet, when you're playing on the floor with your kids, the material that's underneath that carpet, made up of all these synthetic materials that are breaking down, it can actually release dust into your home. And so that dust is now linked to a number of neurocognitive disorders. And I think it just highlights the trend of our built environment, where there's been so many materials we've incorporated into our built environment that are utilitarian, are cost effective, but we're not taking into consideration the cost on our health. And that is why we developed Fiber Pad as a solution to healthier floors as it pertains to carpet assemblies with a bio-based material using hemp fiber as the primary feedstock for that product. And so we did numerous rounds of production testing with Fiber Pad. We ran a lot of different trials, and not all of these trials were successful. Some of them were disastrous. And it took quite some time for us to get to a product composition and formulation that we really felt good about. Once we got to that product formulation and composition, then we sent it out for standards testing, so that it could be used in the home. And once we got those standards testing back, and we did some more refinement with the manufacturing process, down to, this is a roll good material, so it's sold on a roll. How many square feet are on a roll? And what is the pricing structure for this? And the direction that we're moving with, not just in terms of Fiber Pad, but with all of our products, is we want our products to be accessible. We want them to be attainable, and we want to scale them. And for those things to happen, they have to be price competitive. With them being price competitive, then it becomes so much easier to decide, I'm going to substitute that synthetic foam-based underlayment with a natural fiber underlayment that I can feel good about when my kids are playing on the carpet. And I know it's going to be long lasting and again carries that bio-based content logo on it. So you know that this product, it started with a seed, started with a farmer, and it's going to find a long-term home in your home and in your built environment.
That's cool. Yeah. So you mentioned fiber. You make the hemp wool from the bast fibers from the hemp stalks. Are you sourcing from I&D Hemp?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're
Okay.
sourcing from a few different partners. I&D Hemp is one of our fiber suppliers. They're doing tremendous things to grow the industrial hemp segment, not just in Montana and not just in the Rocky Mountain West, but in the United States as a whole. We're also working with Canadian Rockies Hemp
Okay.
out of Alberta. They're also doing tremendous things in the Canadian market, and we're bringing truckloads over from them. And then there's a newer supplier that we're now working with that we're really excited about, Whitefield Global.
Right.
They're
They're
based
local.
in,
They're near you,
yeah,
right? That's great.
yeah. So, seeing kind of this movement towards industrial hemp cultivation in the Rocky Mountain West and seeing it move closer and closer to our manufacturing plant is really encouraging. Whitefield is now contracting with Idaho farmers. And a little funny kind of anecdote for you here, Eric, is I moved to Idaho about 10 years ago. I grew up in northern New Jersey and went to college in western upstate New York. Made my way to Idaho for a prefabricated panelized hempcrete building project in 2014. So we designed panels and tilted them up on site and built what was the first commercial hempcrete building in the United States. That was kind of the foundation for Hempitecture. Where that building was located was in a very rural, remote part of Idaho. And this rural, remote part of Idaho was very ag focused, but also very, maybe I'll say, conservative.
Sure.
Very small population base. And this year, I attended Whitefield's ribbon cutting day, or maybe it was an open house day. And I'm driving back from Whitefield, and I kind of took a little bit of a scenic detour to drive past the building that we built, that hempcrete building. And I'm driving through this town, Mattie, Idaho. Maybe, I mean, to say like population of 1,000 is probably a stretch. And I'm driving along the main road there, and I look over to my right and I see an industrial hemp field. I truly almost crashed my car because I could not believe that I was seeing industrial hemp growing in Mattie, Idaho.
Yeah.
And I pulled off on this dirt road right next to the field, and there happened to be a truck coming down the road. And I said, "Hey, do you know who owns this property, whose field this is?" And he said, "Oh, yeah, of course, a town of no more than 1,000 people. Everybody knows everybody."
Yeah. Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, yeah, it's that guy over there. His house is over on this road. I'm sure he'd be happy to talk to you." So I drove over to his house and I spoke to him, and he, I believe, is a Mennonite farmer who was really enthusiastic about the potential of industrial hemp as a rotational crop, as a new material to work into their crop rotations, and was really excited about what industrial hemp could do for their family farm.
Yeah.
And I said, "So who are you working with?" And he said, "Whitefield Global." And it was just kind of a small world, small Idaho moment, coming from Whitefield's facility to actually driving past a field that they were contracting with this farmer in a place that 10 years ago, it would have been really hard for me to imagine industrial hemp growing there, or let alone in Idaho as a whole.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a great story. Thank you for sharing that. You mentioned, we talked about the fiber pad. Other new products that you're working on, or anything you can share with us on that front?
Yeah, so given that you're a friend, Eric, and everyone that's listening to your podcast is a friend of a friend, I'll give you a little bit of a behind the scenes scoop of what's happening at Hempitecture that you might not be able to see on our social media or on our website, but we have some really exciting things happening behind the scenes. So one of those things that's happening behind the scenes is one of our newest products, Plant Panel. Plant Panel is a semi-rigid continuous insulation product. So where that kind of fits into the building process is on the exterior of your thermal envelope. So just to kind of walk you through what a wall assembly looks like, in the United States, predominantly we build with 2x4 studs or 2x6 studs, wood framing. We insulate those studs usually with a batt insulation. On the exterior of that, you have a shear panel, which gives that frame some rigidity and some structure. So that's OSB or plywood. And then on the exterior of that, usually we just put a vapor membrane or weather resistant barrier
Like
on there
Tyvek
and then
wrap.
exactly, yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
Tyvek wrap right on the plywood. And then you put your siding on top. That is really a relic of how we built following World War II, when we had a huge demand for housing in the United States, and we were building homes as fast as we could put them up. People were having families, and people needed bigger homes and more bedrooms. And interestingly, the way that we built then is primarily the way that we built now. And I think that's kind of an interesting commentary on just the reluctance to change within the built environment. Um, and I think people now are really rethinking how we build, because there's a critical flaw in that sort of post World War II building methodology. And that flaw is that studs, the structural 2x4, 2x6, it results in thermal bridging. So every 16 on center or 2 foot on center, you have a less insulating material that's conducting energy from the interior to your home and to the exterior, or vice versa. And so continuous insulation, while it's not new, it's a growing market in the United States. And that is designed to eliminate that thermal bridging on the exterior of your envelope so that you can reduce energy transmission and have a more thermally insulating envelope. So where this goes is it's installed right onto the plywood or OSB, and then it's finished with a weather-resistant barrier on top of that. And you mentioned Tyvek, which is a super ubiquitous material. For our product Plant Panel, there's a little bit more of a prescriptive guide to how it's finished out, and we use an intelligent weather-resistant membrane on top of that. And then you have a ventilated rain screen cladding. So in short, Plant Panel is a semi-rigid continuous insulation product that helps homes increase their energy efficiency without increasing the structural framing costs by a great magnitude. You don't have to make your walls much thicker. You just put this product on the exterior and you help eliminate your thermal bridging.
That's cool.
So yeah, that's a really exciting product that we're soon to roll out.
Okay. Can you describe it, like thickness? What does it come in sheets? Like just physically describe it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Plant Panel for the exterior. So we have an exterior version and an interior version. Plant Panel X for exterior. That product is 2 inches thick. It comes in 2 foot by 4 foot sheets. And it's semi-rigid. So, you can't really bend this. It looks like a board or a panel. And that's why we call it Plant Panel, because it's made with plant-based materials, of course, industrial hemp. And it's, one of the actually really exciting elements of Plant Panel is there is a binder material used in that, but it's a 100% recycled binder that would be from landfill bound material. And we're diverting that landfill bound material into Plant Panel to create this rigid panel. So 2 foot long, 4 foot high, 2 inches thick, semi-rigid, attaching to the exterior of your wall system.
Okay. What do you do for fasteners? Is it just you screw it on, or what's the method for attachment?
Yeah, that's a really great question. There's a few methods of attachment. There's sort of a temporary method of attachment and then a long-term method of attachment. So if you're just trying to, kind of roll through getting the install done, we recommend using a wide crown staple to temporarily fasten these boards up to the plywood or OSB sheathing. And then you can come back with a thermally broken anti-rotational wide head washer screw. It sounds more technical than it is. Just imagine a screw with a really big washer head on top of it that
Okay.
helps fasten that material to the OSB below.
Okay.
And so you would just put those on a 24 inch on center pattern. So, the corners of the board and then one in the center. So that's the method of attachment.
Cool. Thank you. Other products, other things you're working on? Anything else you can share with us?
Yeah, so there's a few other things that we're rolling out. So I mentioned Plant Panel X. There's also going to be an interior version of Plant Panel, which really follows many of the same premises as Plant Panel X, but Plant Panel I is for interior, and that's going to be a thinner material, about 3/4 inch thickness. And the purpose of this is, well, there's a few purposes. One of which is in passive house assemblies, there's often a service cavity. Without getting super technical into passive house, because it's a whole world that we could spend a whole hour talking about. But they use these service cavities, which allow for wiring and things to be run in. And there's always the good, better, best in construction. Passive house is a great method. But the best method within passive house is to insulate that service cavity on the interior. And so Plant Panel is a material that is suitable for insulating that service cavity.
Okay.
Alternatively, Plant Panel can be used in more traditional, Plant Panel I should say, can be used in more traditional assemblies that aren't really following that passive house model, that don't have a service cavity, but they're just going to be, finished with sheetrock or drywall on the interior. And so Plant Panel would be attached directly to your studs on the interior. And then your drywall will be placed on top of that thin layer of Plant Panel. And so what that's doing is it's thermally breaking the drywall from the studs. It's contributing to sound attenuation, which, sound is a hallmark of comfort. We experience comfort through temperature, humidity, and sound. So considering sound is a really important element. And the reason 3/4 inch thick is really great for Plant Panel I is that a standard drywall screw will be able to go through drywall and then also Plant Panel and reach your studs. So you don't have to do anything like really crazy or reinvent the wheel for how you build an assembly while still getting the best performance you can out of a conventional assembly. So Plant Panel I and Plant Panel X are kind of symbiotic products. Some other products that we have happening behind the scenes that you'll likely hear more about if you follow along on our social media pages or on our website. We have a new product coming out called Hemp Wool Plus that is a little bit of a reformulation of hemp wool. And there's some different reasons for why you'd use Hemp Wool Plus. Hemp Wool Plus might be a little bit more appropriate for roof assemblies where there's some different requirements than there are for wall assemblies, but it's essentially the evolution of hemp wool. Treated with bio-based fire retardants, slightly higher thermal performance, which allows more versatility in different climate zones. And that is, again, following this model of using plant-based natural fibers to create a range of products. And then one that I'll just speak kind of broadly on that we're really in the early stages of developing. And there's some elements that I can share and some elements that I'll kind of keep a little bit closer to the belt. But we recently were fortunate enough to receive an award from NYSERDA through a climate smart materials initiative that they're launching in New York State to reduce the embodied carbon of buildings through the retrofit of existing building stock and through new construction rather. And so this product is in a loose format that really fits into that model of how can we improve, say, a 1920s farmhouse, maybe no insulation, and get better thermal performance out of it while also reducing the carbon footprint. So we're not spraying a bunch of spray foam in the wall assembly, but instead we're taking a material that is plant-based, treated with bio-based fire retardants, and blown into a cavity or attic. So that is, you'll hear a lot more about that as we kind of get closer to it and as we work through many of the milestones with NYSERDA. But I think just the fact that states like New York are really thinking about decarbonization, I think it sets a precedent for other states to act on decarbonization. In the United States, for better or for worse, you kind of have a few states that serve as early adopters, but then once they start adopting kind of these concepts, then they become implemented more nationwide.
Sure.
And New York is one of those states that, if New York kind of makes a move towards hemp-based materials or low carbon materials, you're going to start to see that trend be adopted elsewhere, either on a state level or ultimately on a federal level.
Yeah.
And so this funding that we've received from NYSERDA is a really exciting opportunity and pathway for us to develop a new product that is really complementary to our existing product range and allows plant-based materials to be utilized in more facets of the home.
That's awesome. Is that connected to the Grow New York competition from Cornell University? Because I guess you guys were a winner in that a couple of years ago.
Absolutely. So I would say it's indirectly linked. I'll give a little bit of context on the Grow New York. What a great opportunity that was to participate in the Grow New York competition, which is a competition that seeks to grow the ag and food industry within a specific region of New York State, which is titled the Grow New York region. It's a multi-county region where there's a huge amount of agricultural land, irrigated land, and what they're trying to do is stimulate more businesses locating in New York State with a focus on bio-based materials or food-based products to really grow economic development potential in these more rural New York towns. I think if you're not familiar with New York, you think of New York City and you think of the whole state as New York City, and it couldn't be further from the truth. There are incredibly rural communities in New York State. And so this Grow New York competition is international. Hundreds of companies apply. It gets whittled down to about 10 companies for a final presentation. And then we presented in the final presentation day, and we won a $500,000 award from Grow New York that incentivizes and helps set up our building or our manufacturing and building our business in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And so this opportunity with Grow New York worked synergistically with the NYSERDA opportunity. It's quite possible that we were on the radar of NYSERDA as a result of the Grow New York competition. However, they are unrelated and not financially tied together. But after we presented on stage at the Grow New York competition and we won that $500,000 prize, it wasn't too long after that NYSERDA announced a lot of funding dollars for hemp-based materials and have really worked to de-risk industrial hemp cultivation for farmers. And there's an emerging ecosystem in New York that's probably really interesting to the more ag-focused listeners of your podcast, Eric, that really is supporting industrial hemp. And part of that ecosystem starts at the Cornell College of Agricultural Life Sciences in Geneva, New York.
Yep.
And at that location, they're doing a lot of genetic research and trialing of different genetic compositions that yield results that are targeted for different climate zones. What might work well in Texas probably isn't going to work well in New York. And so what they're doing at the College of Agricultural Life Sciences is working to de-risk the world of industrial hemp cultivation through more reliable genetics that are climate specific, or maybe if they're not climate specific, they're resistant to certain traits or potential pitfalls of industrial hemp cultivation. I can think of one pitfall where, due to federal legislation and USDA oversight, there is a threshold for THC within industrial hemp. And the terminology is, if you're over that threshold, your crop is hot. So if your crop is hot, depending on the state, you have to pursue various destruction methods. In states that are more restrictive, a destruction method might be burning that crop, and that farmer loses their entire investment on that field. In a state like Montana, where companies like I&D Hemp have worked with the state legislature, a destruction method might be decortication. So there's still a useful pathway for that industrial hemp crop. But at the College of Agricultural Life Sciences, they're working on crossbreeding and evoking attributes that result in, when the plant is stressed, when it is experiencing high heat or drought or pest pressure, instead of a response to that pressure being the production of THC, which often is why crops go hot, instead it will produce alternative or an analog to THC that is not going to force the farmer to lose their crop. So New York is doing a lot, and we're excited to be a small part of what is happening there through these different initiatives.
Nice. Couple of things there. So you were saying NYSERDA, and I just want to point out that's an acronym. It's the New York State Energy Research and Development Authority, just so people at home can understand what you're saying. NYSERDA. Okay.
Correct.
And with Cornell, I've had some great conversations with Dr. Larry Smart and some other folks up there. So there's some cool stuff happening up there in Geneva.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just if you'll indulge me in another quick story, I went to college in Geneva, and
At
when
Hobart.
I first presented at Hobart College, and when I was a student there, my thesis study was on what I call the contemporary relevance of earth architecture. And that was what initially got me really excited about the world of bio-based materials and industrial hemp as a whole. And I stood on stage, and maybe I even shared this story in our last podcast, Eric, but I stood on stage, sharing this concept of industrial hemp. And one of the judges for the contest said, "So let me get this straight. You're looking to build houses out of a Schedule I substance." And I said, "Well, yes, today it's a Schedule I substance, but in 5 or so years, it's going to be federally legal, and I want to be on the forefront of what I believe to be an emerging industry." And if you had told me at that time period that maybe within almost walking distance to my college, there would be some of the United States leading research on industrial hemp genetics and cultivation practices, I would have thought you were from another planet. But sure enough, here we are today with that location in Geneva, and Dr. Larry Smart and his team there doing really groundbreaking work, a mere mile or two from where the concept of hempitecture was first birthed.
That's so cool. Yeah, it's all connected, right? So I read recently that you've just sort of launched your second round of fundraising. Am I saying that right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, tell me about that, and tell me, it sounds like a great opportunity, because after you just listed everything you're doing, you guys seem like a company to invest in. So talk to me about that.
Thanks, Eric. I appreciate that. And, so we raised our first fundraising round really with a vision. And that vision was, we are going to bring hemp insulation manufacturing to the United States. And as we do that, we will support the supply chain, and we will help farmers across the Rocky Mountain West as an end buyer of the material in which they are cultivating. We raised just under $5 million through that round in a Reg CF format, and we delivered on everything that we said we were going to do. We built our facility, We're bringing products to market. We're bringing new products to market. And after we closed that fundraising round, we had so many people reach out to us and say, I missed the opportunity to invest in Hempitecture. Will there ever be another opportunity to invest in Hempitecture? And at the time, we weren't really sure that raising in this format, which, to just speak to the format, allows accredited and unaccredited investors alike. So Eric, you could go on to our page on WeFunder, wefunder.com/Hempitecture, and invest $100. Or if you're an accredited investor, you could invest $100,000. And so we weren't really sure if this was going to be a pathway that would go down again. And based on the response that we received from our first fundraising round and hearing from so many people that wanted to invest in Hempitecture and support the potential upside of our business, we wanted to do another regulation crowdfunding round, which is an SEC approved vehicle. So it's totally approved by the federal government, the Securities Exchange Commission. It's a legitimate method of fundraising that allows you to really create a community of investors. And so we opened up our second round to the public on March 18th. And within the first day of going public, we've booked $740,000 of reservations in this investment round. Now, we still have a long way to go with that. And the proceeds of this round, there's multiple use of funds. So just to kind of give an overview on why we're raising this round and why we need more funds. First, we have our facility in Idaho, which is today producing products. And we've learned so much since standing up our manufacturing facility. We've also learned about our byproducts. We've learned that when we're producing board and bat insulation, we're producing byproducts. We need to find a home for those byproducts. And so part of the use of proceeds is to create a closed loop system in our Idaho facility that creates zero waste. So every single component of the plant is used and turned into a usable building material product. That's one part of it. The other part of it is as we move closer to realizing many of the goals set forth in our NYSERDA arrangement, and we look towards expansion on the East Coast, we want to use our Idaho facility as a blueprint and replicate that blueprint nationally. Now, I will say we're not at full capacity in our Idaho facility. So why build another manufacturing facility when we can still add more shifts and produce more product out of Idaho?
I can answer that one. Can I answer that one?
Please do. Jump in.
You want to build a second facility on the East Coast because there's markets over there. And if you were building that, if you were making those products on the West Coast and shipping it over, all of the carbon and all of that, it would just increase the resources used to sell your products on the East Coast. Is that close? Am I
Ding,
right?
ding, 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 ding.
Okay.
We have a winner, Eric.
Yes.
We have. I don't know what the door prize is for nailing that answer so perfectly, but you hit the nail on the head there. It's about lowering our carbon footprint. It's about lowering the cost of goods to the customer. It's about being able to serve customers in different markets more easily and maintaining the ability for growth across all of our manufacturing footprint for scalability, because we know that this market's going to grow. And so we want to make sure that we have capacity to grow into both in our Idaho plant and in a future New York plant so that we can better serve customers, so we can produce more products, we can lower our carbon footprint and do everything that you just so poignantly hit the nail on the head there, Eric.
All right. Mattie Mead, this is awesome. I'm so excited for you and your company. And it's just inspirational to hear what you're up to. It's like you and your crew, you're pushing us into the new paradigm, and we need you. We need more people like you.
Eric, thank you so much for having me. It takes a team effort to bring us into that new paradigm. And it's not just Hempitecture, it's our customers, it's our investors. It's also the other folks that are in the industrial hemp industry. It's a full supply chain. It's trade groups, it's organizations like USHBA and Hemp Building Association. There's so many people that are helping make this happen. So thank you to everybody who is a part of this space, a part of this emerging industry. And thank you, Eric, for having me so we could just share how we're a part of this larger ecosystem.
Yeah, you're welcome anytime. I love hearing you tell stories. And tell me once again how listeners can sort of get involved in your investment opportunity. Just to your website, is that the best way?
Yeah, you can visit our website, hempitecture.com, or you can go directly to our page, wefunder.com/hempitecture. You can see a video that details how we're seeking to transform the built environment. You can see how we're going to use the funds. And if you feel so inclined, you can submit a reservation for an investment in Hempitecture.
Cool. I will put those links up on the show page for this episode. So again, Mattie
Excellent.
Mead, thank you so much. It's great to talk to you.
Thanks, Eric. Much appreciated.
All right, that does it for me. It's time to go. I got to get out of here. I got stuff to do. I know you do too, which is why I appreciate that you spent this time with us here today. I hope you learned something today. I hope we kept you entertained a little bit. I had some fun. Anyway, my name is Eric Herlock. I am the senior digital editor at Lancaster Farming Newspaper, the greatest agricultural newspaper in the world. Check us out online at lancasterfarming.com. You can read all kinds of good stories there about agriculture. You can sign up for our newsletters. You can get a subscription to our print edition. It comes out every week. It's like an old school newspaper. Do you remember those? Yeah, that's what we do. Anyway, be sure to check out the show page for this episode for all of those links, the News Nuggets links, and the link to the WeFunder to become an investor in Hempitecture. All right, so special thanks to Morris Beagle, who was a very good sport. I am looking forward to seeing him and everybody else out there in Estes Park in Colorado in April. So, all right, until then, I will see you in the newspaper.
Industrial hemp.
This episode of the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast is copyright 2024 by Lancaster Farming Newspaper, part of the Steinman Communications family. Today's show was written and recorded, edited, and co-produced by Eric Herlock and co-produced by Matt Lee, our new production assistant. Yeah, Matt Lee. And the music you hear throughout the show is courtesy of Tin Bird Shadow.